Don't brag about morals until you have money to fund your temptations. There are many things hidden in poverty. Ancient sage. What temptations usually emerge when you get rich? Lust/greed/sloth/addiction. It's true that most lottery winners end up being broke again in 20 years. Spend on all the things you never had until nothing is left. Update from Washington Post 2019. 70% of winners of more than 150k end up filing bankruptcy. Already have 3 out of 4. Just need greed to complete the square. Wanting all 4 is greedy. That's why I said need, not want. Change it to want, then you've got all 4. To quote my personal sage, Robin Williams, cocaine is God's way of saying, son, you make too much money. You know what they say, if you're rich, it's a drug habit. If you're poor, you have a drug problem. Poor people are drug addicts. The rich self-medicate. Poor people are criminals. Rich people are unwell. Poor people are crazy. Rich people are eccentric. Cat Williams had a bit about this. He said that when you're poor and only have $20 to get fucked up on, then you can only get $20 fucked up. When you have more money you can really fuck yourself up. Cat, of course, made it funny. I did not. The number one reason my college cocaine phase was just a phase is I could not afford to keep it up, lol. That shit is pure evil. Switch to crack. I can see no way that would go wrong. Meth is a lifestyle. The urge to upgrade, be it your phone, your gaming system, new toys, whatever. Also the urge to eat out a lot. Happens all the time with me. As someone with very little money, I can confirm that I would eat out 50% of the time if I could. I never realized that half of my time and efforts would be focused on feeding myself in adulthood. There is days where I come home from work, then have to make dinner. By the time we are done eating and then clean up dishes, etc., I'll have like 1 hour before bed. Alternatively order a pizza and play video games while it's on the way. Cram the delicious pizza in my mouth hole. Toss away the box. It's like $15-20 pizza just bought me 3 hours of my life. Do that every night and your heart will claim those hours back. Source, Amp Fat. Look at all those fools rushing to buy the latest iPhone with their Starbucks. I'm only ever going to make shrewd purchases and be smart with my money much later. Constantly having to evaluate the cost effectiveness of every buying decision is exhausting. I'm just going to go for the top of the range. Exactly. At a certain point, your time is worth more and you just want your shit to work well, and keep working. This is the argument I get into with my male relatives sometimes. At this point almost each one has helped in some project in my 100-year-old home. Nothing is straight or level. Any project turns into a huge production. So now, I evaluate if it's actually worth the pain of going to the hardware store 2x more than anticipated, having to possibly rent more than one specialized tool, and the added time that trial and error will cost. Sometimes, it's doable ourselves, but sometimes, it's just way simpler to have a pro come in and do it right. I guess with more money, people tend to be more willing to burn bridges or be meaner to others since they can now afford to do so. It's called fuck you money. Yup, you can see a person's character when they find themselves with fuck you money by looking to see who they choose to say fuck you to. If I came into cash and had all these third cousins I haven't seen or heard from in a decade contacting me, I'd be saying fuck you too. Definitely. But if you're saying fuck you to good friends and people who are helping you, or people who otherwise don't deserve it, then you're a dick. It's all about the situation. I'm not rich, but more financially comfortable than I used to be. I have been tempted to do wasteful things out of laziness. For example, using a paper plate so I don't have to wash it, or replacing something because I don't feel like fixing it. Edit to add, the paper plates are just an example. I know they are cheap to buy. Close bracket. Replacing something because I don't feel like fixing it, or paying someone to do the repair because I just don't want to fuck with it. Spending money vs time. I can do some maintenance tasks. I'd rather pay for it to be done right the first time. Also I ain't fucking with electricity. Dunno why I just thought of this. but my brother is an electrician and I used to do data/low volt. We'd work together on jobs and he'd see me at a patch panel with several hundred strands of fiber laying out in front of me with me crimping on a tip, then lacing it into the patch panel. I do this for weeks on end. Just lacing panels. He just said fuck that shit doing. That would make me want to kill myself. At least with electrical I won't hear the sound of the trigger click. He'd just wrapped up pulling 480V into a live panel and years later told me it was by far and large the dumbest shit he's ever done. He said this after voluntarily signing up to the Marines as infantry. He colder got a better job and a subsequent tour in Iraq. All of them. A wise man once said, "MO money, MO problems." You of all people should know that. I think having too much or too little money can be problematic. Always find a happy medium. Money. I pride myself on never having cheated on anyone. Women have never exactly been knocking my door down. So realistically this is less of an accomplishment than I would like to think. Verily, I have often laughed at the weaklings who thought themselves good because they had no claws. I learned that 2 months ago and here I am. Using it already. Niche. Jet and heat. Lold. Bless ya. Judging by celebrities, I'd say infidelity is the main contender. I remember someone talking about Tiger Woods, saying something to the effect of, imagine you have beautiful women literally throwing themselves at you every day for decades. How many years until you slip up that one time? I didn't particularly agree with his conclusion that absolved Woods, but I did find his premise compelling. It's a lot easier to protect the sanctity of your marriage 3 times than 300 or 3000. And that seems to be a common trend of most celebrity scandals. Also when you have money and are desired, goes hand in hand a lot of times. You have less reason to stick it out during the tough times. Poor people can't just walk away anytime the relationship gets bad, because for one it just costs too much, and you're less and less likely with each passing year to find anyone else to be with. So leaving someone is a much bigger decision than when a multi-millionaire does it. I have found that the opposite is true. When I was struggling it was harder to maintain my integrity. I was often tempted to cut corners or break a few rules to improve my situation. Usually I was able to resist temptation, but sometimes I broke the rules. Now my situation is very different. I don't want for anything, so I feel far less temptation. This is the premise of the movie Parasite 2, isn't it? One of the poor family members says something along the lines of how nice the mother of rich family is, and then the poor mother says something along the lines of course she is. She's got money. If I was that rich I could afford to be nice too. The whole point of the movie is that the desperation causes more breaking of a sense of righteous integrity. So it creates this feeling of, wow, this family is despicable. But how much can you blame them given how they've been living? But Parasite also shows the rotten morals of the rich. While they can afford to be nice, they do so as long as the ones below them don't cross the line between classes. The rich family deeply despised and disdained the poor ones, as seen by their commentaries on poor people having a characteristic smell. A close friend of mine grew up in a refugee camp, ended up working on Wall Street, and retired at age 35. He has a saying, ethics are a luxury commodity. You have to have money to be able to afford them. Every time I see a member of the rich judging a member of the poor for being less scrupulous, I think of that phrase. I don't know any people who got fuck you money by playing the game with perfect integrity, but once they get there they like to pretend that they have always been paragons of righteousness and kick down at any filthy paws who seem like they have a shot at making it to the top the same ruthless way that those rich people originally did. The truth is that many of the rich have no genuine ethics, only a self-indulgent facade of ethics. You can observe this quite clearly by seeing just how quickly their pretense of ethics vanishes when they are in danger of losing their position at the top. The GME situation with Wall Street bets made it completely transparent that the rich have no intention of playing by the same rules that the poor do. The second any poor or middle class person starts beating the rich at their own game, suddenly the rich change the rules or break the law in order to maintain their lead. Their ethics and morals only exist as long as they feel they have a safe grip on power. Reminds me of a quote, of all evil I deem you capable, therefore I want good from you. Verily, I have often laughed at the weaklings who thought themselves good because they had no claws. Friedrich Nietzsche: there is nothing inherently good about being poor or powerless, and there is danger in believing that there is. Someone who is incapable of inflicting harm on others is not the moral equivalent of someone who is capable, but chooses not to. Just look at the actions of some who abuse any tiny amount of power or income they stumble upon the instant they get it, no matter how brief, and look at how self-righteously they commit those wrongs. Edit. This also reminds me of another complimentary quote: the surest way to work up a crusade in favor of some good cause is to promise people they will have a chance of maltreating someone, to be able to destroy with good conscience, to be able to behave badly and call your bad behavior righteous indignation. This is the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats. Aldous Huxley. The point of this other quote being to emphasize the danger of thinking of yourself being incapable of evil acts simply because of your place in society, or that a harmful act against someone else can't be wrong because of their place in society. Kinda reminds me of my friend from middle school. He was chubby as a preteen and was very shy and quiet. Then when puberty hit, he got extremely tall, chiseled, and started getting attention from girls. It all went to his head and he became quite an asshole. Everyone thought he was a nice guy before, but really it was just because he was too meek to try being an asshole, and he knew he couldn't get away with being an asshole the way attractive people could. This was also illustrated in the show Mad Men. The character Harry Crane starts as a meek account executive who won't flirt with the secretaries because he's married, then gets a couple promotions and becomes a tyrannical asshole who solicits his boss's ex-wife for prostitution. The only reason I didn't develop a nasty drug problem in college was because I had even nastier money problems. Also, I'm a firm believer in don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So I wasn't going to start selling it, which is how most poor boys like myself funded their habit. Now I'm older with the money, but lucky for me the desire is gone. However, if I had readily available cash in my early 20s, I don't think that would have been a good thing. As someone that had money coming in from 18 to 21 and not much other bills, yeah, money can buy you fun and misery. I'm older now and wish I saved better and not blew it on blow. Nothing like hearing the birds start to sing as the sun comes up and the neighbor upstairs start getting ready for work, to realize that all you've done is wasted a bunch of time and money on blow. Not rich, but comfortable. Speaking personally, my temptations aren't about morals, but convenience and comfort. Growing up without much money, it's hard to lose the thrifty mindset and their temptations because I still wrestle with them. For example, trying to justify being lazy and ordering an overpriced room service breakfast instead of driving down the street to Denny's for breakfast. Not sure I understand. There is nothing wrong with spending money that you have. All money is spending money after all. If you feel like ordering out, or getting room service, or buying a $300 bottle of wine that you can afford, that has nothing to do with morals, and there is nothing inherently wrong with any of those things. I'd be concerned about anyone who has spent 20 years building his career and life to a point of relative comfort, only to feel guilty about ordering room service. All money is spending money after all. I think I follow your general gist here, but some people literally think all money is spending money, even if you have very little of it and still have bills to pay. See my ex-wife and the 21k debt she racked up behind my back for details. Also, some of that money should be future used to spend, shouldn't it? Otherwise, you'll be upset when your social security payments are all you have to live on. Some people can't plan on paying the power bill next week, much less paying a medical bill 30 years from now. Oddly, money breeds lust for more money. The biggest temptation for many is engaging in shady practices, and at the extreme end just outright lying in order to avoid taxes, etc. Also embezzlement and accounting fraud, which are rich person words for stealing. I haven't got the answer, but love the quote. I brag about morals and having equality all the time, and I'm not rich by any means. Does make me think of Russell Brand when he said, when I was poor and talked about equality everyone said I was jealous. Now I'm rich and talk about equality everyone says I'm a hypocrite. I'm starting to think people just don't want to talk about equality. If you are new to TattleTale TV, please subscribe We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.